What's going on, guys, and welcome back to the channel. I'm Chris, this is 4K Motoring, and behind me is the latest addition to our 4K fleet. For those of you that have been following the channel for any length of time, you know my girlfriend rides a Yamaha MT-03. She started about a year ago, maybe a little over a year ago, and that has been the bike she's been riding. It's featured a couple updates, and overall has been exactly the bike we hoped it would be for her. Now, I wanted her to get into a motorcycle that really was non-threatening. I know, like a lot of people out there, if they start a hobby that they're already a little unsure of and get something that scares them or is difficult to use in any way, their desire to use it goes down dramatically. And that's not a situation I wanted. The MT-03 provides a very, very safe and easy to use platform. It is incredibly light. It is easy to move around. All the controls are really easy to use with a power package that is just non-threatening. It will barely get out of its own way. It's nothing you ever have to worry about wheeling or having anything unexpected happen because you gave it too much throttle, because frankly, there isn't that much throttle. It does come with ABS. It is fuel injected. It requires very little to get it started, and it makes sure that you maintain at least some level of safety. It has full LED lights everywhere that will never burn out. As good as it is for a beginner bike, those same traits really hold it back from being an everyday or a long-term bike. Now, something like this that makes it super simple to start and to learn on really detract from its ability to use every day. Luggage abilities are pretty limited on this thing, and overall ability to even get on the highway, something like that, with no wind protection and barely enough power to even get up to highway speeds, makes it maybe not the safest option. When looking at upgrading, there's obviously a path to go from something like this to a more everyday bike, and that's what we're here to discuss. This is a 2024 BMW F800GS. This is the low suspension, low seat model, which gives it an overall seat height lower than the MT-03 even by just a little bit. While it weighs a little bit more, it keeps the center of gravity low, it gives you a slightly longer wheelbase, all the controls are easy to use, and realistically, this represents one of my most recommended paths to upgrading. In modern times, adventure motorcycles have basically become the SUVs of the motorcycle world. Just like SUVs and crossovers in the car realm, they've basically taken over from sedans and wagons just because of their utility. They're easy to drive, they have almost no downsides, and they give you just more utility, more space, and more ability to use every day. When it comes to adventure bikes, they kind of fill that same role. Now, there are a range of these things from very off-road focused to very on-road focused, and you'll find the same in SUVs, so it's a very good analogy. But what they seek to provide is basically a very easy to use everyday ride that gives you an upright riding position, good visibility over the road, ability to handle multiple things. It can handle different terrains without much issue, and it usually comes with wind protection and luggage. Personally, when I recommend somebody to look into a beginner bike, I will almost never, under any circumstance, recommend you buy a new bike. When you're just entering the hobby and haven't decided what you like about it, or even if you like it, buying a new bike is going to guarantee you're going to lose a ton of money. Something like the MT-03 that has an MSRP right around $5,000, by the time you buy from a dealership with all the taxes, fees, and that sort of thing they charge, this is over $7,000 to get this thing brand new off the dealership floor. We were able to pick this thing up about a year old with less than 1,000 miles used for half that, $3,500, and that's about where it will stay. And I think that's my point is, if you buy a used bike for your first bike, one, you're gonna save a ton of money. You're not gonna spend all that extra money it would take to buy a brand new bike. And two, you're gonna be able to sell that in a year's time or whenever you outgrow it for almost exactly the same you paid for it. Basically, this is just a savings account on two wheels. And if you buy one that has depreciated and you get it about half price from the new out the door price, it's not in the next year or two really gonna depreciate unless you wreck it or do something crazy with it. Depending on your personality, that may go for your second bike as well. Now, for a lot of people, they have this kind of impulsive, want to keep getting something new, want to keep changing directions, that sort of thing, in what they want, and you know who you are. If that's the kind of person you are, you might not want to buy a new bike for your second bike either. You may want to stick with this, buy 1 or 2 years used, that way you're getting that bulk of that depreciation out of the way so you can have a bike for a year or two and sell it for almost what you have into it, which makes this a lot lower risk. For us, on the other hand, we knew this is something we're going to keep for a while. This thing has just about everything that we need that the MT-03 was lacking, all in one package with the latest technology and some pretty good incentives from BMW at the moment. The 2024 GS has a full digital display that has Bluetooth connections for your screen mirroring for your phone. It did have the GPS mount that we traded out for our Chigi AI05 that we had on our MT-03. We just switched it over. By far, still my absolute favorite motorcycle Android Auto Apple CarPlay display that you can get. This is a keyless system. It has keyless fuel tank, it has a quick shifter, it has cruise control, it maintains the traction control and ABS functions that we're used to with the MT-03, as well as having different power modes for different weather conditions. The bags are pretty cool. They offer a lot of utility, and although they're not super aerodynamic, they do expand if you need even more space, which makes them very usable. And again, it has full LED lighting, which makes this a pretty reliable everyday bike. This F800GS comes in right at, I think, the ideal second bike power level, and that's somewhere between 80 and 100 horsepower. I wouldn't recommend a second bike, especially if you started on something like this that has about 35 horsepower realistically. I wouldn't recommend you go and get something that's over 100 horsepower for your second bike, at least not without throttle maps. That way you can tone it down to learn on it and then expand later on. Realistically, getting something that is about this power range gets you highway ability, gets you the ability to basically pass any car on the road, but still not be super scary for a motorcycle, not do anything that's going to lift the front wheel up or loop itself really easily. So I think it's a really relatable, really usable power point. It's also going to maintain some sort of efficiency, so for a daily rider, it is an ideal platform. Generally speaking, somewhere between the 650 and 900cc power ranges will get you there depending on exact models. So this 800 slots right in the middle. There are only a few options on the market that fit this low seat capability for these adventure bikes, and it realistically is the BMW F800GS Low and the Tiger 800 or 900 Low. Those occupy this space that get you some of the utility of an adventure bike, but still that approachable seat height. One benefit is once you get comfortable with not putting your feet flat on the ground, we could potentially get a taller seat for this thing and get a little bit better riding position and more comfort. And that is something to grow into down the road. Now that the 800 is in the stable, we'll be getting rid of the MT-03. Again, just passing it down the road for about the same thing that we paid for it. So it is just a savings account on two wheels. If you like your second bike, great. If that's where you want to stay, that you just want one more bike that's more usable and you know what you want, something new like the F800 we got is an awesome option. If you buy used again and are not sure what you want, that gives you this upgrade path to getting something more ridiculous like the Multistrada V4 that is absolutely unnecessary in every way, shape, or form. Personally, in my motorcycling journey, this is where I've ended up. This is my second Multistrada, and in my opinion, this is the ideal bike for me. For on-road riding, for comfort touring, for sporty riding, this thing does it all and does it well, which is why I've ended up with now two of them, the V4 being my current bike, and man, it is amazing. So realistically, I wanted to make this video as just an introduction for the new bike that we have in our fleet and talk a little bit about the upgrade path and why we chose it, what we're going for. Hope you guys have enjoyed some of the MT-03 content. If there's any questions you guys have about it before we get rid of it, let me know in the comments below. If there's anything that you're curious about in upgrading from that bike to the F800, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully we'll have more content doing a more thorough review of these bikes coming out soon. So if you haven't already, make sure you've liked this video and subscribe to the channel, and we'll be back soon.